What's the deal, man? PolitiKan the podcast. We back again here at Rigor Mortis Studios, located in downtown San Bernardino. Hit me up on PolitiKan Broadcasting Networks if y'all want to pull up, get interviewed, talk about your brand or your business. So here we have Lyci. She's here to talk about her peace brand, her sweaters, man, and how her art, and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Alicia or Lyci, and I'm an artist.
So an artist, what do you mean by that? Because a lot of people deem themselves artists these days.
And it was very hard for me to say that, actually. I've never been comfortable calling myself anything, so to call myself an artist is a big step. I always consider myself to be a failure, so to call myself that is.
So what have you done in your life that you would deem a failure?
I've just always been hard on myself. I've been like, I think everyone's their own biggest critic, but so I've never felt like I've been able to complete anything. So to be able to put myself out there as a painter, as like a draw, just put myself out there the way I'm putting myself out there now is a big accomplishment for me. Because I've always kind of been all over the place. I've always said, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I've never accomplished anything. So to finally put myself out there and be serious about something is a big step for me. I've always felt like in the past I've tried to do that and it would be embarrassing, and then I'd be like, I failed.
I feel you completely, because for me, I'm essentially a jack of all trades. I've done, even in my professional life, I started in retail. I went to American Career College, went to medical billing, then I went and did front and back office, left that, went into sales, left that, went into plumbing, left that, went into warehouse. Now I'm currently in manufacturing. So I've literally have jumped everywhere from every field, just because I feel like the success that I'm looking for is not in that field, and that I need to switch my hustle up, essentially. So it's not really like I feel like it was a failure, but I do feel like a lot of it was a waste of time. You know what I'm saying? I could have been doing something much better with my time, or have some type of direction. But that was also the lack of direction that I had in my life. I didn't really have any real goals or any real wants to say, okay, this is what I want and this is how I'm going to get it. And once I flipped that switch, it gave my life purpose and direction. And that right there, for me, was the key to not feeling like that. Especially like as a kid in sports, I used to be real hard on myself, like as far as I want perfection. Like I want to be the best. If I'm out there and I got to do it, I'm going to give it 110%. And if that 110% don't net me victory, then it's like, am I good enough? Am I really that nigga that I think I am? You know what I'm saying? So I dealt with those inner questions my whole life also, so I know exactly what you mean. So as an artist, now that you decided to actually step out and call yourself one, what is your next plans?
My next plan is I'm kind of just going with where I'm being spiritually guided. So I just go with what I wake up and I pray and I meditate, and whatever messages I receive, that's where I go. So right now I'm going with, painting and making these sweaters and just following my heart, and whatever my heart tells me to do, that's where I'm going.
Okay, so I see you got the sweater on. What's the inspiration behind the sweater?
Find your peace. Whatever you do to find your peace, whatever inspires you to find your peace. Personally, the meaning behind this is, I was in meditation one day, and I actually used to have a really short temper. So when I learned how to meditate, it taught me to have patience, and it taught me to control that. And so one day I heard a mantra, like tame the beast, find peace, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like when I would argue, like, cause I kind of argue with my dad a lot. So when I would argue with him, I didn't know how to like not respond. So like hearing that taught me like don't respond, like don't react. So I would always be like, oh, tame, you know, whatever, like
Yeah.
say that little mantra in my head. And one day I was thinking like maybe I should draw that. Like what would it look like if I drew it out? So I kept drawing it out, and then I kind of like came up with this somehow, like, and I just kept perfecting it, and then one day I was just like, oh, you know, I'm gonna put it on a shirt. So at first we were doing tank tops, and then we ended up making like hoodies and crews, and so that's where I'm at now.
Okay, so as far as painting, do you do any is any of your paintings for sale, or do you do it just for
Um,
personal use?
I don't, I haven't really considered selling them. Painting is more like how I express myself, cause it's like I just do like abstract. I've been doing it off and on for 5 years, but like I said, I used to lack a lot of patience, and I was really hard on myself. So when I started painting, I would always look at it and I would be like, "That's stupid," and I would throw it, like I would literally throw the canvas away, and I was like, just wasting canvases and wasting paint because I thought it was dumb. And so like when I got back into it, like I kind of would like give myself more patience. I would like go on YouTube and like look at other people and like actually learn how to mix colors and stuff like that. And so now it's more just like I don't really want to sell it. I just kind of want to do it. Like I just want to just express myself on the canvas. It's not really like I don't know. I don't really know what I'm. You know, it's just kind
Yeah,
of like
so
a
it's
freedom
more
for
of
me.
just a personal
Yeah, just
escape. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Something to get lost into.
Mhm.
That's why a lot of people smoke weed. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
that
saying?
too. Yeah.
So
Like
to
that.
alleviate that pressure and for me, I deal with anxiety a lot.
Mhm.
That's my biggest thing is anxiety because I know what I want and I'm willing to go so hard to get it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I try to hold the world to the same standard that I hold myself to.
Mhm.
And for people to want it or see things the way I see, don't, and a lot of people don't, and that's why I may come off aggressive a lot of the times because people don't see things that are glaringly obvious to me. You know what I'm saying? And it's frustrating, especially when you feel like nobody sees the world the way you see it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a lonely feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, like nobody could see this, nobody gets it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I've been dealing with anxiety since I was a child. My first stint at it was 5th grade. I got called into the office and got showed some ink blots, and I'm looking at myself like, what the hell? It was a it was an incident in class where the the teacher had got into a altercation with one of the children, and he stepped out to go get the dean or whatever, and the kid that he was reprimanding got on the teacher's desk and pulled out his pants and started shaking his ass. And the teacher came back in and started screaming like, Lonnie, stop shaking your ass in front of the class. And that shit just was so hilarious to me. And I literally like went into a hysteria and I was laughing for like 2 hours, tears. And everybody was looking at me like I was crazy. Now at the time I had just transferred schools from Webster Elementary to this school called Don Benito.
Mhm.
So I was a new kid at the school. I really didn't have no friends. I was really didn't. This is probably the only time in my life where I was kind of introverted, where I didn't really speak to nobody. So for me to bust out laughing like that, everybody looked at me like kind of weird. So then, as time goes by, I keep getting in trouble. I keep doing these different things, and they call me into the counselor's office and they show me ink blots. And I'm like, what the hell? And they take me to like therapy sessions. And next thing you know, they came to the conclusion that anytime I feel anxious or overzealous, that I can just remove myself from the classroom. Now I'm a 5th grader. So anytime that the teacher was like, oh, it's time for homework, I would just get up and walk out. Like, oh, no, feeling anxious. I can't deal, you know, because I didn't really take it seriously. I didn't really think nothing of it. But then around my teenage years, I became this real angry person because my parents moved me out the hood to the suburbs, and it was such a culture shock for me because I was just so used to living such a fast life to come out here, and it was just such a difference in the people, in the culture, and the way things worked, you know, and I just missed the hood so much. And I rebelled and I hated it, you know what I'm saying? It really wasn't until about 21, 22 that I settled into being to the Inland Empire. Like, you know what? I'm really out the hood. Like, let me stay out the hood for good. You know, and it, it's crazy, man. Like, once you look back on it, these things are triggered at a much younger age, and you didn't deal with them then. And then eventually, as an adult, it reaches its head where you can no longer put it off and you have to deal with it and slay those demons, you know what I'm saying? So I'm happy you found your outlet because a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah, and it took a long time because, like, in elementary, like you, like, I used to be, like, the loner kid. Like, I would sit under the tree and just, like, watch everybody else have fun. And so they would put me in, like, self-esteem classes, and then we wouldn't do anything but play Jenga. So I was like, okay, like you know, like, I'm just gonna go play Jenga.
Cool.
And then so, like, as I got older, like, I would still be like that loner kid, like, kind of like wanting to be with the crowd, but like I didn't know how. Like, I don't know how to socialize well with people. And then as I got older, it just got worse. Like, I just have like severe social anxiety. So when I'm like in groups of people, I'm like nervous. Like, what if someone says hey to me? Like, how do I respond? Like, I'm constantly in my head. Like, I don't know how to like interact well in groups. So like it just kept declining. And then like they tell you, like, you know, then they tell you, like, then they, you know, you go and get diagnosed with like different disorders. Like, I have I have bipolar disorder, and then I have something called schizoaffective disorder. So those two combined, and then like you're with your, you know, like you already can't talk to people, and then like you have those disorders, and then it's like I don't want to even be around, you know what I mean? So it's like then you kind of like start isolating more, and then it just gets worse, and then it just declines even more. And so it took a long time for me to get to the point where I realized I needed help.
Yeah. So what made you be like, okay, I need to seek help?
I kept having these breakdowns. Like, I kept getting fired from jobs, and I was like, what's going on? Like, I keep losing these jobs. Like, I can't like maintain something. I can't be stable because I keep having mental breakdowns. And then I wasn't on like the proper medication. So like the last job I got fired from was last year. So, and I was like, I just kind of sat there. Like, usually I'll cry and get depressed and stuff. And then that time I just kind of sat there and I was like, okay, obviously God is trying to help me go in the right direction, and I'm not listening. So maybe I should sit down and listen. And so I kind of just sat there, and that's when I started like getting into meditation and like getting more into prayer and like kind of like listening to the guidance I was receiving. And I kind of had to like listen to my therapist and like get like on the right medication and like be consistent with things and like, you know, like learn how to be an adult, like, in a sense, because I like with my health declining, I never really knew how to take care of myself mentally. Like, I was able to take care of myself physically, as in like losing the weight I gained from the medication, but I never knew how to take care of myself mentally. And so that was the biggest challenge I had to overcome.
For me, I caught a gun charge, 3 felonies at 17. Tried that as an adult. Took a 5-year probation, and I violated 5 times within that 5 years. So when I finally got off of probation and I got my name cleared, it was like, okay, now I can try to go get a job. And I was like, you know what, I need to change my life. I don't want to be in the streets no more. So I moved up to Palmdale, started going to school. You know, when I started going to school, 3.8 GPA in college, never had good grades as a child, you know. Killing, paying rent to a spot that wasn't paying the mortgage. Come home one day, the house is being foreclosed on. we getting ready to get locked out in 48 hours. They're gonna sell the house in a short sale. So I had to stop everything that I was doing and move back home with my mama.
Mm-hmm.
Now at the time, it's only 2 bedrooms. My brothers both moved back in with my parents, so now I don't even got a room. I'm sleeping on the floor, my clothes in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm living out of trash bags essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of hit rock bottom, but I'm like, okay, this is a time for me to clear my name, go get a job, fix my life. Went around riding buses for hours, interviews, riding around with suit and tie on, all that shit. Couldn't get a job for shit. Now this whole time I'm trying and failing. My parents think, okay, he moved back, he back in the streets, he back to his old shit. They end up kicking me out. So they kicked me out. I'm homeless. So I end up being homeless for a good 3.5 months before I found a spot to live in Riverside. So now I'm living in Riverside. I got a room for rent. Could barely $300 rent. Could barely squeeze to pay $300 rent. Couldn't find a job. All this shit. Went and got my record expunged, cleared. Maybe thinking that would help me out, Still couldn't get a job. So then I finally get a job at the Under Armour the warehouse in Rialto. This one, it was brand new, hadn't even opened yet. On the way back, I lost my wallet with both forms of ID. Had a mental breakdown on the corner. Just started punching and kicking shit. Punched a wall and broke my hand. Mm-hmm. I break my hand. I'm going crazy on the corner. Only thing that snapped me out of it is the homie Marcus Baker and Andre. They homies from high school. They seen me going crazy on the corner and jumped out on me and started hugging me like, Caleb, come on, what's up? You all right? And it brought me back into the real world, And I called my girl, like, hey, come get me, and my hand broke. She like, what? Like, she couldn't understand, like I literally had reached rock bottom at that point. And I felt completely like a failure. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It was like no matter what I did, I couldn't win. Like, all I was doing was trying to change my life for the better. I was trying to do the right thing for the first time in my life, and still couldn't succeed, man. I couldn't understand it. Mm-hmm. But like you said, it was God showing me that He got a different plan for me, mm-hmm. and that all that shit was not part of the plan, and that's why it didn't work out. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But it was hard to accept that. But for me, I think that the beginning of turning the tide was prayer. I went to Abundant Living, and after they did an altar call, I went in the back for extra prayer, and I had probably 10 people pray over me for at least an hour, because I had reached the point where I was mentally ready to give up, and I was just done. Like, you know what, I'm just done. I don't know what else to do. I don't know. Because usually I'm like a pillar of strength. Like, when people see me, they like, man, I usually take life and take it on the chin and keep it pushing. So at that point, it was the first time where I was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm done fighting. I'm tired. I can't do it no more, And prayer really uplifted me and re-energized my spirit, to get back out there and keep pushing.
Yeah. That's the thing that helped me too, because I actually came really close to death, because I was suicidal, and I actually overdosed, and I seen my whole life flash before my eyes, and then I stopped, and I was like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? And I actually I already had God in my life, you know what I mean? But I didn't really know how to access Him, and then at that moment, I prayed. And that was the only thing that kind of snapped me, because I couldn't feel my body was you know what I mean? I felt like I was going. And then after that, after that time period, that's when I was like, okay, stop what you're doing. Flip your life around. Stop. Change your direction. Redirect your focus, you know what I mean? That's where all that stuff started coming from, because it's whatever I was doing wasn't the right path, So I had to get closer to God. I had to get on that path, because I wasn't, and it's not like I was doing bad stuff. It's just the way my mind works is just, it's not, it doesn't, function the right way, and it's like, I had to get help.
So for me, a lot of it was playing the victim,
Yeah.
blaming everybody for my own mishaps instead of taking onus for what I did. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, my parents kicked me out when I was trying to fix my life, but everything I did up until that point said that this nigga's a fuck up and he in the streets doing this, selling drugs, bringing guns into the house. I went to 5 high schools. You know what I'm saying? In and out of jail for stupid shit. My parents put up with a lot, My mom, like, when Pac say, what, mama checking in my bedroom, I ain't there, that's real shit, like, my mom would continuously check in my bedroom damn near every night, especially on the weekends, just to make sure that her child was alive, just to make sure that I was there, because I'm so impulsive that I would get a phone call and that phone call would take me anywhere in the world, you know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't even look back or stop or think about what I was doing or informing anybody or where I was at or what I was doing, not thinking about nobody but myself, And it was that selfish mentality and behavior that was kind of put me in that box alone. It wasn't that I was alone, it was that I was so selfish that I was blocking everybody out and isolating myself, you know what I'm saying? But I felt like nobody really understood what was going on, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would talk to my friends. I started to go inward and like read books and study history and different things, and everybody started to be like, you weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, now it's crazy because you look on the internet and you see all these people talking about all this self-help stuff, and you see all these speakers speaking on all this stuff. But 10 years ago, if you spoke on this stuff, you was a weirdo.
Yeah.
If you were into this stuff, you were a weirdo. Everybody's talking about saging and meditation and chakras, but if you tapped into that 10 years ago, you were a weirdo. You were a crazy motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
And even now, people still think you're weird if you don't. Like, some people still think you're weird if you're doing it.
Yeah, but they haven't tapped into it. Like meditation is something that I have used to calm my anxiety, but I'm not consistent with it. So is meditation a key to keeping you on that level too?
When I first started it, I was like, oh, like the first day I did it, I was like, oh, this is like interesting. So I like did it the next day, and then I did it the next day, and then I realized like, oh, it's also a healing technique. And so it became like a daily habit, and now I do it like maybe 3 to 4 times a day. Like I can sit there for hours, like, and just kind of like for today, because I knew I was gonna be talking to you. Like I had to prepare, because I'm like, I don't talk to people that often, so I had to sit there for like maybe 3 to 4 hours just to like mentally visualize myself talking to somebody. You know what I mean? So it helps a lot. It helps me a lot. It's been about a year of consistency of meditation for me.
For me, most of my problems come when I go to sleep. I've suffered from night terrors for years. And I think it's because of all the repressed memories of all the street shit and shootouts and niggas dying and all that shit that I've experienced throughout my life that, they're repressed memories. So I practice mindfulness. So what I mean by that is that when I'm alive, like I practice being solely in this moment. My mind is not thinking about the past. My mind is not thinking about 10 minutes from now. I'm completely engulfed in the moment. So being in that state of mind when I'm conscious leaves my unconscious state of mind for, as the devil's playground. So for me, meditation didn't really do much for me unless I was going to sleep. At nighttime when I'm trying to get rest and I'm not trying to have these night terrors, because a lot of times the night terrors would be me fighting the world. You know what I'm saying? It would be just me, like, kind of on some John Wick shit. You know what I'm saying? Where I killed 5 niggas and here go 10 more niggas popping out to get me. You know what I'm saying? And every day that I would go back to sleep, it would be like a continuation from where I left off. So it was like a never-ending dream, a never-ending mental battle that I still struggle with. I still wake up in cold sweats, and I don't honestly. I don't know what to do. As far as everything else, I pretty much got a stronghold on my mental health. But as far as these night terrors, man, like they left for a little while, but every now and then they pop back up to let me know, like, nah, you ain't done yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I close my eyes at night, man. It's scary.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time I actually admitted it to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's scary. It's very scary.
One thing that I have, because I have like that too, like sleep paralysis and stuff like that. So like a lot of things that I do before I go to sleep, like the main thing I do is journal. Like it's not even just like dear journal, like nothing like that. It's just getting out your thoughts before you go to sleep, like whatever's on your mind, just write it out, and it kind of clears you out before you go to sleep. That way you're not thinking too much, and you kind of and then like write, like sometimes I write my prayers, and then I just go to sleep, and I kind of feel like at peace when I do that. So I mean, cause I have night terrors and stuff, like I get that too. So I mean, like that helps me a lot.
Definitely. So with your brand, where can people find your sweaters? Is it like something that you do on a hand-to-hand basis? Is it something you're gonna sell online? Or?
I do have it on. I have it on a website. It's findyourpeace.com. P3ACE. Well, find your yeah. Yeah. So that you can follow me on Instagram too. That's the same thing. Find your peace. P3ACE. Yeah, on Instagram.
So, do you plan on sharing your story in any other way or platform, or is it just you came on to just kind of?
I mean, I would like to. I think it's kind of like, cause this is the first time I've like shared it. So I don't. I mean, yeah, I can. I would like. I don't know. Just what the future holds.
Because there's four type of people in this world. It's the people that never learn. It's the people that learn but don't apply. It's the people that practice and never preach. And then there's the evangelists that go out there and try to spread as much knowledge and experience through their life. And throughout my journey, I've had steps at each one, I was a nigga that didn't learn from shit. I was a hard head. I got down where I'm mad at. I stayed in some shit. And I just expected that to be my life. So once I stopped living like that, then it was like, okay, I started to read these books and I actually apply them to real life, And then once I started to apply them and start to get results, I didn't tell anybody about them because people looked at me like a weirdo. So I would just apply these things to my life but keep it to myself. And then not until I really started this podcast that I really started to share the knowledge and all the things. Like my girl, I would go tell her for hours on everything that I'm studying, and because one thing always leads to the next. There's no such thing as knowing everything. So one topic always leads you to another experience or topic or piece of information. And she was the only one that would be receptive to the type of things that I was talking about. You know what I'm saying? So even if she didn't fully understand or want to understand what I was talking about, at least she was an ear to listen. You know what I'm saying? For me to express like, hey, I found causality. It's crazy. It's changing my life. Most people would be like, what? But understanding why things happen is the thing that gives me peace of mind. You know what I'm saying? If I don't understand why things occurred, then that makes me hold on to resentment and spite. And spite and resentment was a lot of the reasons why I was in trouble. And why? Because I had to get my get back. I was a nigga that needed my get back every time, no matter what. No matter who it was. That's why my mom kicked me out, because I was such a tyrant that I don't care if it's my mama. I need my get back. You know what I'm saying? And I had to learn not to be like that no more. You know, but I had to go inward.
It's
You
hard.
had
Yeah.
like I don't know if you ever heard of self-actualization.
Like yeah, like yeah, it's yeah.
So I went through the whole process of self-actualizing to kind of find and become one with myself. And every time that I see myself getting away from who I am and who I want to be, I go back into that inward place, into that self-actualization, where I need to realize what's going on, identify the triggers in my life, and figure out what to do to eliminate them. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't live my life angry and mad. And patience is a virtue that I'm still struggling with. I'm very, very impatient, especially because I'm a self-starter. I'm used to just, as soon as I get the inkling, I move. You know what I'm saying? So my patience, especially with working with others, is the number one thing I struggle with, because I be wanting people to move as fast and be as on it as I am. You know, and it's hard to find those type of people. You know what I'm saying? But man, mental health, man, as far as black people, as a child, it's a stigma that you grow up with, that if you're going through these things, you can't speak
Yeah,
on
it's
it.
like taboo.
You can't deal with it. You gotta deal with it in the closet. You gotta deal with it in the cut. You can't really be outward and share it with people because of the stigma and the box that they gonna put you in. So I'm happy that as black people, we're starting to come out and actually deal with our mental health instead of just letting it go to the wayside. You know
Yeah. Cause the longer you don't choose not to deal with it, like the worse it gets, and that's what I learned. Like, I kept trying to ignore it. Like, oh, maybe there's really nothing wrong with me. Maybe I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just dramatic. You know what I'm saying? And then like the older I got, like the worse I kept getting, until I was like, okay, let me do something. Let me sit down and figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And we all relapse. Like, nobody's perfect. I'm not saying I'm sitting here and I found peace and not every day is great, because it's not. Like, we have challenges. We have demons that we have to face every day. Like, no day is gonna be perfect. We're gonna fight something every day, but at least like make the effort to try. You know what I'm saying? At least make the effort to be peaceful.
It's crazy, man, because like people all the time, when I meet people and I tell them like what I'm doing, and they come through, they're like, man, you're a blessing, you're such an inspiration. And honestly, like, I'm so hard on myself that compliments literally do nothing for me. Like, people could be like, you changed my life, you're such an inspiration, and it literally like, I go into like this blank feeling, you know, because I'm so hard on myself that I don't feel like that. So I feel like you kind of shucking and jiving. You kind
like
of
it's a joke.
just trying to boost me up. Like, you're not serious. You say that, but you don't really feel like that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying. I don't know what I could do, but I'm trying not to be so hard on myself. But at that same time, that inner drive is what allows me to jump through these hurdles and keep it pushing. So, you know, it's my source of stress, but it's also my biggest weakness. You know what I'm saying? So it's like serendipity. The best way I could describe it, man. It's like a gift and a curse, man. Like, that's why Jay-Z is one of my favorite artists, because when he dropped that Gift and the Curse album, he was talking about that inner struggle, that same thing that I'm talking about. How everybody look at him as Hova, but he looking at himself as Sean Carter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's hard, you know, to feel like Hova and be Hova at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's that drive to want to be Hova that pushes him to that greatness. You know, and if he stopped, if he actually felt like he was the man, then he wouldn't keep striving to push the envelope forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I do want to get into politics. Let's get into Colin Kaepernick, man. He just had an NFL tryout today. We all know he sat down for the flag. Donald Trump said that anybody that kneeled for the flag should be fired, and all them bums should be respectful that they gave them a job or an opportunity. I kind of understand that because these white billionaire owners didn't have to create the NFL. They don't have to pay you $168 million to throw a football and tackle niggas. So it is a blessing. It is a blessing for them to create this opportunity. But at the same time, you pledge allegiance to a flag. That means you pledge an allegiance to what the flag stands for. And when the Pledge of Allegiance was written and assimilated into the culture, we were slaves. So how does that allegiance or that pledge apply to us black men or us black women or as indigenous people? How does it apply to anybody that's not a white American? You know what I'm saying?
Why do we have to do it anyway? Why do we have to pledge allegiance to the flag?
They taught us, they had us doing it in elementary school and high school. They kind of instilled it in us without us ever actually asking the question of it's called the Pledge of Allegiance. Why are we pledging allegiance? You know what I'm saying? And once you ask that, it's like, for what this country stood for, especially when they came up with this, no, I'm not pledging allegiance to that way of thinking or that Constitution.
Exactly.
See, now, black people, we were granted liberty, not freedom. And what that means is that we have access to the same things that the free people have. So white people are free in America. We have access to their freedoms. We have the liberty to access their freedoms. But we're technically not free. That liberty can be taken from us at any time, any moment. So, technically, according to the Constitution, we're still 3/5 of a man. We're just granted liberty to freedom. So why would I pledge allegiance to a Constitution that says that I'm not even a whole man? You know what I'm saying? And people want to shun Kaepernick and look at him like he might not be the best football player no more. He was on a decline, just like every other football player that plays since they're 10 years old into their mid-30s. It's a lot of injuries, a lot of wear and tear that goes on your body. The shelf life for a football player is the shortest out of any athlete. So for you to expect Kaepernick to be the same Super Bowl Kaepernick is kind of an unreal expectation. So what are your feelings on taking a knee during the Pledge of Allegiance and this whole Kaepernick situation?
Man, I told you about that. I really don't pay attention to a lot of this stuff because I feel like it's just like, man, I don't know. I think I agree with taking a knee. Like, I'm all for that because I really don't, like, pledge allegiance to the flag. Like, I don't understand why we have to do that. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to the, like, Navy and, like, all that stuff. But, like, I don't see why that's, like, I don't see why we have to do it. And I understand why they take a knee. Like, I get it. But I don't know anything about football. I don't know anything, like, about Colin Kaepernick and how he plays. I don't know, like, anything about that. But I do, like, understand why they take a knee.
Yeah. Like, it's crazy because as black people, like, I was listening to a Malcolm X speech earlier called The Ballad and the Bullet. And he was talking about how a white man wouldn't let a black man come run for any type of city councilman or any type of mayor or any type of government position to run their community. So why do we allow white people to come? We vote for them and then allow them to run our community and expect them to give us anything. You know what I'm saying? And it's that same way. I feel like Kaepernick, what did you expect the NFL to do? What did you expect them to give you out of you kneeling? You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I don't agree with kneeling. I don't agree with really protesting for the most part because it's disorganized, and because of the disorganization behind it, especially with black people, it leads to nothing. it starts a conversation, and then it leads to a bunch of bullshit, and then nothing ever gets done.
But
It's
that's
been
because of social media and stuff like that. Like that has a serious impact on like the things that we do. Like it's like trendy. You know what I mean? Like not to say that we shouldn't be fighting for our rights, but a lot of times like the things that we do are because like it's trending on Twitter, like it's popular on Instagram, like you know what I mean? Like
it's crazy how people could scream "fuck Donald Trump" and then go shoot up a nigga in the hood the same day.
yeah.
Fuck what Donald Trump talking about, nigga. Take care of home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our problem as black people is now we not focused on our home,
No unity.
our own communities. We don't own anything. Killer Mike just showed us a glaring weakness in the black community as far as black businesses, because even if a black business exists, they still get their product or distribution from white companies.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, you're just reselling white products. So technically, nothing is coming from niggas.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like we used to run our own communities and have our own mom and pop businesses, and this is why gentrification is happening, because nobody goes to those mom and pop businesses no more. They go to Walmart. They go to Target. They go. So even a Radio Shack couldn't exist no more because of Walmart, Target. Best Buy has to go online, and they're struggling to keep up.
Because of Amazon.
Yeah, because of Amazon and all this. So even these big conglomerates can't even keep up with what's going on now. So how do you expect a mom and pop shop to come around and stick around unless the black community puts an emphasis on actually buying black and spending the black dollar within the black community?
We have to learn how to come together and unite as one. And that's just...
You see, but we don't share information.
No.
I think that we're so misinformed, and that when one person does get information, he keeps it to himself or his small circle. So there's always this misinformation or divide within the black community because of the information he got is different from the information he got. And that's why we can't be on one accord.
Yeah.
Michael Max was also talking about religion and how that's the biggest separation tactic in the black community. Oh, you're Islam, you're a Muslim, so I'm Christian. Oh, you're a Mason. Oh, you're a Buddhist. Oh, you don't believe in nothing. So then we're all grouped into these different categories based on our religious belief. And he was talking about we need to be black nationalists and just have, like Trump said, that's why everybody's saying Trump's a KKK member, because he said he's a white nationalist, meaning that I want white people to succeed over anybody else in this nation. Is that racist? Or should we adapt the same mind frame that they have? We don't need to be violent against white people. We don't need to look at them and say, oh, they're some fucking crackers. But we do need black nationalism to say, hey, I'm for black people over everything. And they look at the Nation of Islam. My girl thinks that I'm a Muslim. I'm not no Muslim. I'm a Christian. But I do like the black nationalism that comes within the Muslim factions. They're not saying fuck white man. They're just saying, I'm for black man first.
Yeah.
And I'm going to always be for black man first no matter what the scenario. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that as Christians, as just black people, period, we need to become black nationalists and really take care of black people first. And start to have these inner conversations, start to have these community meetings, this community outreach. The difference is that the black church used to be the cornerstone of the black community.
We don't have those.
Exactly. The black church used to actually do outreach into the community. They actually used to go out and feed the homeless, have these things, meet and greets at the park where we would have these inner conversations within our community. Now the black church only does things within their grounds. So if you don't go actually to the church and walk in their doors, then you don't receive anything that the church does to the community. if you're not a member, you don't have access to any of the things that the church does for the community. And I go to Abundant Living. I'm a member of Abundant Living Family Church in Rancho. If you're not a member of the church, anything that they do, you have zero access to. You have to become a member first. They have like rent. They help you with rent. They pay utilities. They help you with schools. They have scholarship programs. They have all these things that they do for the community. But if you're not a member, you have zero access to that. And that's the one thing about the church that I don't agree with. Is that the church needs to, especially in the black community, needs to get back out in the community and become a part of the community instead of having Creflo Dollar talking about he needs $200 million so he could buy himself a new jet, and he know that God gonna provide him with this money. And guess what? Did he get himself that new jet? He got that motherfucking jet, man. That shit crazy, like.
See, my grandma, she lives in Mississippi, so she have they have small churches out there, and then it's not like it out here, you know.
Yeah.
It's like small church, everybody can go, and it's like black churches, and it's
Yeah.
it's like in the city is different than it is in the country. So I kind of like going to church out there and not going out here.
Yeah, it's a different.
It's a different environment.
But are those the churches where they do like 3 hours of praise and
Yeah,
worshiping?
yeah,
and niggas be falling out.
No, they don't fall out, but it's
They be busting backflips in the aisle.
Yeah, it's long.
I can't. I'm so used to hour and a half, 2 hour church.
Yeah.
I can't assimilate to
But
5 hour
it's
church,
like
man. I just
soulful,
can't do
though.
it.
I like it though.
I mean, I can't. I don't like it. It's extra. I went to the homie church, and we went in there, me and the homie Larry, and the homie invited us and didn't even show up to church that day. And we in there, man, and the drummer was drumming, and then this nigga just jumped off the drums and spent in a circle around the whole pulpit, and then jumped back up and kept drumming. Like, didn't miss a beat or nothing, and that shit was crazy. I was like, man, it's crazy. Like, I looked at the homie like, man, I'm finna go to the bathroom. He like, nah, bro, you ain't going to the bathroom. So we both get up and end up leaving, man. And then, like a week later, we go to the homie house and see the pastor. And he all like, yeah, y'all was the ones that got up and left. We're like, oh, man. That was embarrassing. But that was the last time I've been in a church that praised and worship like that. And I don't know, it takes some getting used to.
It does. Yeah.
So before we get out of here, man, one more time, tell the people your website, your Instagram, where they can find your merch.
You can find me on Instagram at findyourpeace P3ACE, and it's the same on the website findyourpeace P3ACE.com.
All right, man. Well, PolitiKan the podcast. We're PolitiKan Broadcasting Networks. Hit it up, man. Check out the content. We on every major platform. Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You want to schedule a pull-up, you want to be interviewed, you want to sit in that seat and politic with your boy, man, hit that book button, man, schedule your pull-up. PolitiKan the podcast, we out.
Thank you.